Hello, sports fans. This is Coach Mad Mike, and welcome to Football Psyche. This is the second Commanders edition, and we'll be going over a lot of new updates that happened over the past week. To get a good baseline, I would go back and watch our first edition that we did, where we did a full roster breakdown, and then you can kind of compare it because we're going to go over just the changes in preparation for the NFL draft. Large Sarge will not be with us here this evening, mainly because he had to work. Obviously, with the amount of subscribers we are not making money on this channel, but we are having a lot of fun, and we sure appreciate you listening in for us this evening. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we have going on. I will tell you, this past weekend, it was just an incredible time. We had a chance to meet so many fans. We went to a merchandising show. We're going to get some of those interviews out on the channel here real soon. We met some incredible people. We met a lot of Redskins fans. I say Redskins fans because if you're an old-timer like me, you know you're still a Redskin for life. And I'm sure met a whole lot of people who it just seems like we have more people who resonate with being a Redskin than we do as a Commander. But also, I still going to call it the Commander's Edition because we're wearing the W on the side of our head. So it's just all of who we are. And so let's just roll with it. So one of the things I kind of want to talk about that's happened since last week is the Commanders have assigned jersey numbers to the 20 free agents that we signed. And I find some of these numbers kind of interesting. We'll get used to seeing this team because it's going to look very, very different with 20 new free agencies and everything that Dan Quinn and Adam Peters has done in the offseason has just been incredible. And this team is really going to look different. So Marcus Mariota, I think, is an interesting one. He's going to be wearing the big old goose egg. Guys, I don't know about you, but I don't know if I really like that jersey number. It's going to take some getting used to. Really, someone's going to would you choose the goose egg number? Just curious. Anyway, also another one is McManus, our new kicker who replaced Joey Slides, wearing jersey number 3. It seems like the past, 3 or 4 kickers we've had have just carried on the jersey number 3 for some reason. It just seems to be our kicker's number. Another one there is Chin. He's going to be wearing number 11. So instead of it being a quarterback like the old Project 11 with Alex Smith, that number is going to go and be on a safety this year. And then we also have Zacharias, number 14. That's Sam Howell's old number. And Zacharias is going to be probably a slot receiver. We'll see how that goes. So it's going to be kind of weird to see 14 in the slot receiver position. Another one is Michael Davis, who's a corner. He's our new corner we got in. He'll be wearing Antonio Gibson's old number. And then another one, is Farrell. Farrell will be wearing Chase Young's old number. So just some things to get used to. Bobby Wagner being on board, 54. That gives you a good idea what some of those jersey numbers are. We have signed 2 other players since then that don't have jersey numbers yet. We'll get into it so you know who those guys are. But as I go through parts of the roster, we've had 4 additions to the team. 2 of them are on here. 2 of them don't have numbers yet. I'm going to mostly just brief those 4 changes that we've had of signings in the past week. So let's get into it here. The first one is at quarterback. It was number 16, Jeff Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll is coming to us from Cleveland. Many people, I've had a chance to talk to a lot of Redskins Commanders fans. Why in the world, after signing Marcus Mariota, would we go and get Jeff Driscoll? So I did a little bit of homework on this, and I came across an interview where Dan Quinn had talked about his plan when it was just Marcus Mariota and Jake Fromm on the roster. Was he wanted 4 quarterbacks in camp, and he said it for 2 reasons. He said one, he didn't want a lot of people standing around during training camp, rotating in. He wanted to have multiple fields going with the maximum amount of players getting reps in. which I think is a great idea. When you bring 90 people into camp, you want to keep them fully engaged. So he wanted to have 4 quarterbacks out there. And then the second reason why he wanted to do that was he wanted to ensure that his quarterbacks that most likely that would make the roster would not be overworked where they would have too much fatigue or too much strain on their arms from the amount of passes that would need to be thrown. So they're basically arms to be in camp. It could be argued that Jeff Driscoll is probably going to be competing against Jake Fromm for a practice squad spot. And Marcus Mariota is probably the backup to whoever we draft. But because we got rid of Sam Howell, I think that whoever we draft is the week 1 starter. I don't see a scenario where Marcus Mariota is our starter unless whoever we draft is a complete flop. If it was me, I would have kept Sam Howell and not brought in Marcus Mariota, and I would have had whoever we draft compete with Sam Howell, and either the guy that we drafted would end up backing up Sam Howell if he wasn't ready to go, and he would sit for a little while, which is usually good to develop a quarterback. Or if he did beat out Sam Howell, then Sam Howell would just have to accept that he's in a backup and would be able to at least provide some knowledge of what it's like to be in an NFL and be a starter for a year. But anyway, because Sam Howell's not there, Marcus Mariota is going to be that more of a mentor guy role. And I really truly believe, for all those who are asking why sign Jeff Driscoll, I think it's because they want an extra arm in camp, and he'll probably compete with Jake Fromm for a practice squad position, is what I'm thinking right now. Now, I've had a chance to think about this a little bit more, and from a scenario standpoint, don't be surprised if Marcus Mariota, Jeff Driscoll, nor Jake Fromm actually make this roster. I've seen it happen before, guys. For other players' situations, the medical situations change, and those types of things, that players become available, especially when you cut down to 53-man rosters. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys gets cut and somebody else is signed. I'm just saying that, and I think we might have even pulled the trigger a little bit too early on Marcus Mariota, because there was guys like Fields, there was guys like Garoppolo, there was other guys that came available later that could have been, in my opinion, better options than Marcus Mariota. With that being said, obviously there's something that this coaching staff saw in him. With how they've been rebuilding this roster, you have to trust their judgment and their scouting, that there was something that they saw in him that they really wanted. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes, right? So another thing that I want to bring to your guys' attention is the running back situation. Another player that we signed in this past was Jeremy McNichols, who came over from the 49ers. When I looked at this one, he has experience or has a background with the Titans, and he's bounced a little bit around a little bit. I kind of look at him as probably a practice squad player that's going to come in. The returning players is Brian Robinson and Chris Rodriguez. And so when you see the blue text that I have on these slides, those are guys that are new to the team. So Brian Robinson obviously was our starter last year with Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson's out. Eckler is in. And so Austin Eckler. And Chris Rodriguez was our third string guy last year. He'll probably be that again. But I'm also going to call it right here. I don't think we're done at this position. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't sign another running back. It's not uncommon for a team to have 5 or 6 running backs on the 90-man roster. We could draft a running back in the later rounds. We could also bring in another, either and or bring in another running back post-draft. So we'll see whether it be an undrafted free agent or it's a veteran who still has something left in the tank and wants another opportunity. So we'll see how that works out. So I have Eckler and Robinson on top because I think they're going to be a 1-2 punch as far as starting combination. I'm not going to call one a starter over another. Some people say it would be Eckler. Some people say Brian Robinson, and Eckler would be the third down back. I'm just not going to go there right now. I think it's too early. And so if I was to venture to guess, obviously early round and the power kind of game is a Robinson's forte, but I think Eckler could do it too. And I think a lot of the catches out of the backfield would probably predominantly go to Eckler, even though I think Brian Robinson could do it too. So I love the combination. I think they're going to be deadly. I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal to watch. And I think Chris Rodriguez looked very, very solid at times last year. And so I'm interested to see what his second year with us is going to look like. So anyway, Jerry McNichols was the second one besides Jeff Driscoll, who are new over the past week. All right. So then we go into the linebacker situation because the new guy that we signed just a few days ago was Mykal Walker. Mykal Walker has come to us from Pittsburgh, but he also spent time in Atlanta and has bounced around a little bit off of that. Probably a practice squad kind of player, but we'll see. One thing I do like about this is I do like how much this particular coaching staff has completely revitalized this linebacker core. It's one thing I never understood about Ron Rivera, being a former NFL linebacker, and Jack Del Rio, who had a history of really working with linebackers, how they completely and utterly neglected the linebacker position. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, are you serious? And so the only returning guy we really have from the 53 last year was Jamin Davis. And then, of course, we have Brandon, who is a practice squad player who's going to be competing for the 53 and might end up on the practice squad again. But we went out and got a number of pieces, as you see here. Obviously, Franklin Lavue is a great addition, who was a team captain with the Carolina Panthers, which is phenomenal. And then we also went out and got Bobby Wagner, who led the league last year, 168 tackles, and going into age 33, who just a dominant leader who can develop somebody like Jamin Davis, kind of help lead this defense, rally these guys together, try to get an identity together, try to gel, and hopefully give Witt a good defense where if he can call it, they can get stops, they can get the ball turned over a little bit for us and get the ball back in O's hands, something that we have just really struggled with in recent years. And I love how we just pretty much completely redid this linebacker situation. But I'm also, just like running backs, I'm not absolutely convinced we're done at this position yet. I wouldn't be surprised in the later rounds or maybe post-draft us picking up another linebacker. I think it could happen because I think when I look at these guys that are in depth here, I like Pittman because he's a really good special teams player, but I don't see a lot out of the other three guys that lead me to believe that we have another solid quality backup behind this linebacking core. And I think we're probably going to keep 6, maybe 7 linebackers, depending on if we're running a true 4-3 or not. You know, I don't think we're going to go a 4. I would have to think it has to be at least 5, but it could be 6 or 7. So we will probably bring in more linebackers, I would venture to guess, especially when you're talking about a 90-man roster. I think there's room to bring in a few more guys. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I like that I've been able to at least show you with the linebacker because I think the biggest offseason thing that we did so far was completely rebuild our linebacker core. And I think they're going to be so much fun to watch. And there's so much leadership that can be for this defense between Lavue and Bobby Wagner. I think it's going to be a tremendous amount of help defensively. So really looking forward to that. And Dan Quinn being a defensive-minded guy that he is, and Witt following him from Atlanta to Dallas, and they've worked together for years. I'm very, very excited about what they're going to be able to do. I think it's going to be phenomenal. So anyway, let's keep going here. I want to talk about a new defensive end. This guy, for those of you who who paid attention to the smaller report I did on the IPPP before and the international players that come into it, and I might do more of an in-depth special on international players because I think it's an interesting part of the game that's really developed in recent years that I don't think gets reported on enough. But we ended up signing a new guy out here, and I don't want to butcher his name. I'm just going to say it's Hagai. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name that well, but he's a Nigerian, and I love his size and weight. 6'7", 327 pounds. Woo. My goodness. So he spent all his time on practice squads pretty much since 2022. He started off with the Arizona Cardinals, then went to the Denver Broncos, and then with the XFL conference that became part of the UFL, the United Football League, this year, he started off the season with the San Antonio Brahmas. And so he did play a few games, turned a few heads, enough for the Washington Commanders to say, I'm going to sign this guy. Now, the UFL is still in season, but he's not on the team now. So the only thing I can think of, and you guys can comment in the sections if you have more knowledge of this, because I don't know a lot about the UFL, but apparently since he signed with the Washington Commanders, he's no longer part of the San Antonio team there in the UFL. So I guess this might be a league rule that once you've signed another contract within the NFL that you're no longer in the UFL because he's no longer on that roster. And that's happened pretty much effective when he became a Washington Commander. But he did get some time enough to turn heads. And what I like about that is his teammate that he's going to be joined with. His teammate, some of you who know and really follow the Redskins / Commanders really, really well are familiar with Afe Abada, right? Our defensive end, who's played a little bit of D-tackle too, but we kind of have him listed as defensive end right now. And Afe Abada is also Nigerian. And he's been on this team for the past couple of years. He's actually been in the league for 5 because he spent his first 3 years in the Carolina Panthers. So he was one of those international players that became very successful in this league, right? He's been a consistent depth option who's very solid at what he does, who could be an extremely good mentor as a fellow Nigerian to Hagai here. And so I really like it. I think there's an extraordinary opportunity for these two international players that come from the same country to really work with each other and grow together. And the other thing I like about international players too is, for those who might not know, I mean, they do not count against your 53-man roster. They do not account against your practice squad roster numbers if they go in there. So it's almost like free chicken to kind of help develop these guys, and you get another person in there to do that. And so I'm not sure how long that grace period lasts for, because I don't think F.A. Abada is still considered free chicken to the league where he doesn't count against the 53-man roster. I think it's probably an introductory period. So if you guys know and done the research on that, please drop those comments in there. We all want to kind of educate each other through the process. But I do like the mentorship kind of role there. And so he's going to be a player I think worth watching. His size is incredible. And it might not be a defensive end signing as they currently have him listed. With that kind of height and weight, he could be a defensive tackle, and because that's kind of the height weight that I kind of see them more being interior defensive line. All right. So this brings us to, now that you've known the 4 latest signs we have to be added on to all the free agents that we brought in the offseason. It's been 22 now in total. It gives me a chance to kind of go back and look at, well, what are our biggest needs? So I looked at NFL.com. They say the biggest needs are quarterback, offensive tackle, edge rusher, corner, and wide receiver. And for the most part, I agree with it. I actually think wide receiver, tight end, could be the need that's there, but these all look about right. You can also make an argument we want to bring in maybe another safety, maybe even another guard. But I think we could all agree that these are the top five. So I think I agree with NFL.com. I just if I would argue anything, it would be that number 5 spot of being a wide receiver. I kind of think tight ends a need, because even though that we have Zach Ertz is probably a one and done. I like Cole Turner in the number 3 position. I kind of like John Bates, but they just are not coming along as quick as I think people would expect. And so to bring in more competition, especially if you get a good tight end, which I think you could if you used a mid-round pick on a tight end, you could probably get one to come in and compete against these guys. It would be interesting. Sure, it surely would be interesting to watch. But anyway, we'll go over this real quick. It says the Commanders will have their pick of the remaining quarterback prospects after Caleb Williams is presumably selected by the Bears to be number 1 overall. Well, if you listen to my short today, that decision has already been made, in my opinion. It is the Chicago Bears. That is where Caleb Williams is going. I said it in the short, and it's predominantly because of what was reported on the Commanders' wire this morning when I checked in with it. And what they said on there was that Caleb Williams, who's a D.C. native, is not going to be coming to D.C. to do a top 30 visit with the Washington Commanders. He's not visiting any other team in top 30 visits. He's only visiting one. He's only agreed and said he will only visit one team. And we all know who that is. This is the Chicago Bears. So if there's any doubt in anybody's mind whether the Chicago Bears are going to take Caleb Williams, I think you can get that out of your mind right now. He is going number 1. He's not coming to Washington. He's not going to any other team. Chicago Bears are not trading out of that pick. The Washington Commanders, I think, would be foolish to try to trade up to number 1 anyway. To think that he might fall to us, forget it. It's not happening. We just everybody just needs to already accept it. If you're a Caleb Williams fan, watch him when he's playing with the Bears. Root against them when we're playing them, right? And then that's just the way it's going to be. So we also traded Sam Howell to Seattle, and that improved our position by improved our 4th and 6th round picks to 3rd and 5th round picks. We'll go over draft picks here a little bit later. And it could help us meet our needs at offensive tackle, which I definitely believe is probably our number 2 need, left tackle in particular, right? And receiver and or tight end. NFL.com things I would say is tight end and or receiver. I kind of put tight end a little bit ahead of receiver as a need for us. And defensive-minded coach Dan Quinn is always looking out for speedy edge rushers, which I definitely believe we'll probably get an edge rusher. I'm still pissed beyond all reason that we got rid of Montez Sweat last year prior to Week 8 trade deadline. I mean, I can understand Chase Young a little bit better, but I did not agree with, and I don't know if I will ever agree with, Montez Sweat leaving this team. To me, that created an unnecessary hole in this team, and it created an edge rush need. So we're going to need to get another edge rush, even after Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler Jr. Okay, I got it. Dan Quinn brought a couple of his boys over from Dallas, and I hear some good things about these guys, so I get it. But I don't think we're done in that area. I think we do need another edge rusher, and I do think that we're going to get another edge rusher in this draft, and it's probably going to happen in the 3rd round, if not the 2nd. But I don't think we're going to get out of the top 100 without having an edge rusher added to our squad. All right. The team signed 2 free agent corners in depth, Michael Davis and James Pierce, but won't turn down a potential starter. So I'm going to tell you another one because I hear a lot of people talk about, hey, I sure wish we didn't give up Cameron Curl, but I'm going to throw another name out there I sure wish we didn't give up. And that's Kendall Fuller. I liked Kendall Fuller a lot. And you know what? I felt like we really needed Kendall Fuller. He graded out extraordinarily well. He was shut down. When I saw the contract that he signed, we could afford that contract. I'm like, do we really think that Benjamin St-Juste and Emmanuel Forbes who we're going with? Emmanuel Forbes got roasted so many times last year. It was ridiculous. I mean, he got rookie schooled. Now, I'm hoping he makes a huge leap his sophomore year with the team. And so what I'm thinking is probably going to happen is Michael Davis is probably going to start across Benjamin St-Juste, and Emmanuel Forbes is still going to be the nickel, but he's going to have to come a long way. And I'm not completely sold on this corner room being set with just Michael Davis and James Pierre being added to it. So I think that we're going to take another corner in the draft. And I would like to see the corner come off the board, somewhere in the third round. We need to. I don't know if we're going to take one in the second, but I'm saying the third round, it's a good place. We have 3 third-round picks. I think we can get an edge there. I think we can get a corner there. I think we can get a wide receiver or a tight end there. I think there's a huge opportunity there. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that. All right. So let's get to the Washington Commanders draft picks at this point, right? I think it's really interesting to see how strong of a position that we're in. All right. We have a first round pick there, number 2. I think the pick, I called it weeks ago. I'm going to still stand by my pick. I think it's Jaden Daniels. I don't think it's going to be Drake May because I think he's dropping a little bit. And I don't think it's J.J. McCarthy because I don't think he's come up enough to pass Jaden Daniels. I think that this is a done deal. Although I know that there's people who are just very much in the Drake May bandwagon. And if you are, still love you. But I think you're wrong. But we'll see, right? I'm going to be at the NFL draft with Lard Sarge. And we're going to see. I can almost guarantee you we're not moving up. And I can almost guarantee you we're not moving down. I think we're going to take a quarterback right there. And I think it's Jaden Daniels. That's my call, and I'm locking it in. I haven't changed my mind in 3 weeks, and I don't see me changing it before the draft. So then we look at our 2 number 2 picks. I think this could go a number of ways, right? I think we can stay there at the 36th pick. I think we can go and we can, if we stay there at that position, I think it's a very good opportunity where a guy like Jordan Morgan out of Arizona at offensive tackle is who we would probably, I put him in that range where that could be somebody that we pick up. And then that second pick that we got from Chicago there, that in the Montez Sweat trade, I think we've got to use to go out and get an edge rusher. And I don't know who could potentially fall to us there. Maybe it's a guy like Chop Robinson out of Penn State. I'm not sure. Maybe it could be Darius Robinson out of Missouri. I'm not sure if he'll be there, though. But I heard an interesting thing about these number 2 picks is if with our need being an offensive tackle being so strong, will we trade our 2 number 2 picks to get back into the end of the first round? With that kind of grade, if you look at the draft value chart, we can move up as high as like number 16 with those picks. And if we could, maybe we can get an offensive tackle like Fashana or Fuaga. Fashana out of Penn State or Fuaga out of Oregon State. I mean, I believe Joe Alt will be off the board out of Notre Dame. I think he's going to go in probably in the top 10. But at 16, we could probably see if Fashanu or Fuaga fall. And if they're there, they're in reach. But I think if we stay put, it might be a guy like Jordan Morgan. We'll see, right? And then we had 3 third-round picks, right? So we have the third-round pick we got from Seattle, along with that 5th when the trade up for the Sam Howell trade. So we moved up into the 3rd round, gave up our 4th there. And so it gives us 3 picks because we also got a 3rd-round compensatory pick for the Chase Young trade off to the 49ers. So now it gives us 3 third-round picks. And I feel like out of this, we definitely need to come away with an edge rusher. I definitely think we need to have a corner that we get somewhere in here and a wide receiver or a tight end. We can meet all of our needs, all of our biggest needs in those first 100 picks. So we're in a powerful position. Unless we get cute and we start trading picks or trying to move up in the draft or doing something like that, we could walk away with having some solid positions of guys that could be close to starting right away. You never know until you get them into camp, but it should be able to give us some room, right? And then we have a couple number 5s and a number 7. where, I think that's where you get into the area where you just, you're starting to look at best available player on the board, somebody you can bring in to compete. This is going to be interesting because it's Adam Peters' first draft class. I think he did a phenomenal job with with free agency. He's completely rebuilt a large chunk of this team. I mean, 50% of this team can be completely different than what it was last year. The rebuild is on, and I want to tamper expectations because we were, we only had 4 wins last year. I think we have a real good opportunity to turn things around this year. But I think this is probably more than a 1-year rebuild, right? I think it's going to be exciting to see what this team can do. It's going to get for some fans, we got to get used to all the different players on the team and get to know some of these guys, because about half of the 53-man roster will be players that we don't know, right? And the fans are going to be like, "Who is that?" And but I think it's going to be exciting. I'm really excited to see what Witt can do at his first opportunity as defensive coordinator, with Dan Quinn continuing to develop him and really looking and digging into this. I'm very, very excited to see what Cliff Kingsbury can do with this offense. I mean, and a lot of that's going to depend on the quarterback position. So I'm excited to see what that. But don't be surprised if we don't go out with these draft picks too and get a little bit more depth in some areas. Besides getting attack, I wouldn't mind to even pick up a second one. Maybe somebody even compete on the right side, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we pick up a linebacker in there somewhere just to put somebody behind the starting lineup to get some depth and some pack. I wouldn't be surprised, if we look at a safety somewhere in here to add a little bit more depth to the safeties that we have and provide some competition there. But we'll see what happens. I'm very, very excited about what I've seen so far. So what you see so far, most people call this a dead time. Everybody's waiting for the draft. But as you can see, we had quite a lot happen in the past week. Kind of went under the radar a little bit. But I think momentum is pursuing. We are just a couple weeks away from the NFL draft. Again, Lard Sarge and I are going to be there. I'm very excited about being there. We're going to be there through the first 3 rounds, and then we're going to get up Saturday morning, and instead of going through rounds 4 through 7, we're going to jump on a plane to get back to DC from Detroit and catch the Commanders draft party. So for all you Redskins Commanders fans out there, I'm going to be there as well. Lard Sarge and I are going to be there filming as well. And so please come up to us. We'd love to be able to have an opportunity to interview you and talk with you and so forth, and bring your friends. I think it's going to be a great, fun party. I'm very excited to see who we're going to draft, and I think it's going to be a great time to be able to welcome all these new players to the team, and it should be a lot of fun. I mean, I'm just ecstatic about the possibilities of what's going to happen. So leave your comments below. I would sure love to be able to hear them. Again, Lard Sarge couldn't be here tonight, but he's ready to get back into this thing here real soon. I'm hoping to also bring some more guests onto the show. We have a lot of Commanders, a lot of Redskins people that I'm running into, and I'm going to try to get some of their comments in here because everybody's got opinions. You can start off by putting them in the comments below. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you tell your buddies, tell your friends, right? We're all here to have fun. For all of you guys, hell to the Redskins, hell to the Commanders, and I will see you soon. This is Coach Mad Mike of Football Psyche. I'm out.